For most years, I get out in the spring and I start chasing bears in those high meadows, or I'll start chasing these mountain birds up here, and I realize how much I've been sitting around during winter, how much that I have got out of shape. And usually it's this springtime idea when I start thinking about, oh goodness, I better get back into shape. But this year, the Life Outdoors family, we're going to start something different. It's February 1st and the ground's frozen, but we are waking up. We are going to start working towards our September today. The problem is winter is making us comfortable. We get used to the couch, heavy meals, Super Bowl, football, and we get on spiritual autopilot. But the mountain doesn't care about your comfort. Toms don't care about you sitting around. And that spring bear, he's going to be out in the high country, and we're getting soft. And we got soft all winter long. So today on the show, we're gonna be launching this thing called spring training, and it's gonna be a spring awakening, is what we're calling it. We're gonna call it the spring awakening, and we're gonna talk a little bit about why we came to this and why we are talking about spring awakening and what we're doing here at the Life Outdoors and why we want to bring you guys into the spring awakening and what we're doing. And I think it's going to help us. We're going to be building our mountain legs. We're going to create a rucking protocol that actually is going to work, and it's going to build to drive discipline in you. We're going to be looking at Proverbs 24 and why getting your work done in the field now is the way to build a house that stands. So it's time to shake off the winter rust. Let's find the wild within. And if you're ready, let's trade excuses for elevation and grab your packs. Let's open our Bibles and let's get to work. You're listening to Life Outdoors, and this is where the trail meets the truth. So what's going on here, man, is we have been sitting around and we have not been, I know there's a lot of you out there that treat winter as a time for slowing back and building. When I was racing mountain bikes, we always had this seasonal type idea of how we are supposed to ride. And I've gotten out of that. And quite honestly, with life, with trying to run the Life Outdoors as a organization that is trying to meet its goals of getting people outside so they can know who God is, it's put me a lot of time behind a computer. It's really taken its toll on, excuse me, it's really taken a toll on my physical abilities. And as I age, I start feeling this. I could feel, as I'm going up hills, a little bit more resistance of, and it's starting to hurt a little more. And a lot of that is not because of age. It's because age makes it easier to sit around and do nothing. So I think most of you guys could probably relate to this. We've been sitting around eating these heavy Christmas meals. Thanksgiving starts us off. We go all the way through. Like here in the northern hemisphere, when the sun starts getting lower and lower and lower, and we don't have near as much time outside in the daylight, we need to start really organizing ourselves. And we live in this age where we're being pulled away from doing physical things through technologies and things like that. So what we're doing here at the Life Outdoors is we're gonna try to just change our focus, and by changing our focus, that's going to probably change our discipline, and it's probably going to change the way that we are. And I understand some of you guys don't live around places where you have elevations and things like that, but you can take these concepts that we're going to put today, and we're actually going to introduce a challenge today, and we're going to start moving towards looking towards that September. I have an idea, and I'm not going to say it on here because it's kind of a secret still. A lot of people don't know about it, but in 2027, I am going to go to a place where it's going to require a lot of physical activity to make this hunt successful. But it's also something that I think the Lord is calling me back to, and we'll talk about this later. But to get into the shape that I'm going to need to be in by then, I have to start now. So with that said, we're gonna start this mountain leg mentality. We're gonna get ourselves back to where we could go, wherever we need to reach to get to where we need to go. And I'm not talking about trying to get into big trophy animals here. What we're looking at is we're looking at just hunting in its purest form, to do the things and looking for the adventure, but also looking for the meat. And to do that, it's going to take some work. We have to start disciplining ourselves to be able to, the actual work itself is not the hardest part. The hardest part is making yourself do the work. And so when we start, the way that we're looking at this and the way that we're starting this spring awakening is, it's going to be a gradual thing that builds that discipline. So how's it going to look? Well, we're going to ruck. Rucking is probably the best thing, because that's what you do when you're hunting. And we're going to start with 20% of our body weight and focused on tension rather than speed. We're not looking to get up the mountain the fastest right yet. If you focus on working right now, you will get faster and faster and faster. And then we're going to also focus on the archer's back. I don't know if you guys have known about this. If you're a bow hunter, you discuss the re-engagement of your lats and your back muscles, and you don't want this first draw of the season to be something that strains your muscle. You need to get out there and you need to start shooting. You need to start getting these things done, and you need to do that under tension, and you need to do that with heavy breathing. So that's something that we're going to start doing. And then the next thing, we're going to talk about nutrition, cleaning up the comfort food. Man, it is so hard, right? I mean, I just recently had to fast for a day and a half. And the first thing I wanted after I fasted for a day and a half was, I wanted to try Dave's hot chicken. I don't know if you guys have eaten it. It's good, but it is comfort food and it's not good for you. So we're going to start cleaning that up. These are the things that February 1st is bringing us into. We're also going to do the silent preparation, and that's our spiritual discipline. Just as we prepare our bodies for the mountain, we have to prepare our souls for the valleys of life. You can't really hunt well if you're in a spiritual deficit. I know some of those spiritual deficits drive people, and that's where they find their meaning, is in hunting, but that's not true hunting. That's a insecurity that people have to have, and being able to create Instagram posts for their insecurities. That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is is understanding the fact that you are learning something about Christ on every hunt, and then being able to make good on that. Jesus made us to have dominion over the earth, and what that means is we represent the King. So we need to start looking a little bit more like that. And I'll tell you right now, if you're trying to influence people for the kingdom, you should show people that you have discipline in how you treat yourself. That is part of the kingdom. That's Jesus emphatically shows that throughout all of his time on earth. But then he speaks about it, and then he speaks through Paul and the epistles on how we should react. So we're gonna focus on that too. Kind of the scripture focus here that's pulling us into this is Proverbs 24:27, and prepare your work outside, get everything ready for yourself in the field, and after that, build your house. And what that means is we're going to build our spiritual bodies, where we could follow, not bodies, but our spiritualness. And so where we can use our physical bodies and our spiritual stuff to follow the Lord. And we will go over this. This is part of what we're creating with this spring awakening. Is it really, none of this other stuff matters unless we know that we are supposed to be connected to Jesus Christ himself. And to be spiritually connected means to be spiritually disciplined into recognizing him in everything. And it's a discipline to do this. And we're going to learn that. Or we're going to continue to learn it. That's what I should say. Because nobody's going to learn it and figure it out. We always are going to continue to learn it. That's the beauty of who Jesus is he's so amazingly huge that we cannot, it just in everything, in theories, in actual things that we do know, and in just thinking about him, there's so much we can't know everything of him. If we did know everything of him, that would make us gods as well. Whereas if he's God, and he is, then you can't know everything about him. So there's so much to learn. And that's part of what we're doing with this physical training and the spiritual training, I mean. So um we're gonna learn how to engage for 10 minutes. I know that sounds really easy in the morning, is to just turn off everything and engage with Christ for 10 minutes. Um, man, I tell you what, that's not easy. It's not easy, especially in the world that we're living in. So the next thing we're going to do, and one of the big things that I like to bring up is we are going to go through our gear. And um, the spring and this time of being in springtime, your gear is utterly important. Um, and it's something, I don't know if you guys like gear as much as I do, but I really enjoy playing around with gear, getting gear that's going to make something different, spend time underneath gear up in the woods before you actually have to survive in it, right? I mean, that's part of what we want to do, is we want to get into a place where we have to kind of depend on our gear a little bit, because if we don't, then we're, man, we just don't feel like there's that adventure that goes along with it. So we're really looking forward to doing that with the gear. Um, and we're going to start looking at different types of how we are going to hunt this year, with spring bears for sure. This is a low snow year, so I'm going to probably be able to reach those high meadows that I've been trying to get to for years, this year. And I'm really getting excited about that. I really hope that I draw my spring tag, because I really want to get up in those meadows. I just love hunting those bears in the meadows, and I love being um, isolated up there. And it's kind of the early season, we'll have to see how it all works out. But once the grass starts growing, that's when the bears come out. And so you could start setting up and glassing areas and packing into those areas to glass. And you're still under threat of some pretty rough weather. I mean, Gage and I, we've been caught in snowstorms and everything else during this time of year. And it's so, there's something that connects us to the way things used to be when you're in those situations, and life turns into something completely different when you're in those situations. I think that's why we like it, because it pulls us away from the superficial stuff of life, and then all of the elemental stuff, the stuff that is down to the level of, we got to get water. That is where we start living again. And it's a kind of like a great reset in the spiritual realm and in the physical realm for humans. And so that's part of what we're looking to do. And then starting to get this understanding of how animals talk, and how the turkeys talk, because we chase mountain birds up here, and it is totally from the ground. And like last year, I don't know if you guys saw the videos or not, but I got sacked like 6 times by the same turkey, and we're hunting them as hard as we're hunting elk, just in a smaller circumference. But we are going up the same mountains and going through the same pastures, and not pastures, but high meadows, and same clear cuts as we would for elk, and doing it the same way, trying to get in front of them and call them over to us, just like we do elk. And so you have to really get tuned in on those calls, and then get tuned in on how the turkeys use those calls. You can make all the sounds in the world, but if you're making those sounds in the wrong times, you're not going to do anything. And then if you're making them in the wrong way, you're not going to do anything. So those are the reasons, those are the things that we are doing. I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to go through this whole spring awakening, how this is going to work. And it's going to be for all of February. But when we get back from the break, I'm going to go through and I'm going to talk about, and the importance of it, and how these things are going to ramp up, and how they're going to bring us back into this mindset of being ready in March. And then maybe we'll even jump on March and do something else until the spring bear season starts in April. So if you haven't, here's one of the things: if you haven't put in for your spring bear tags, you got to do that before February 10th in Oregon. So, and we're talking straight to this, and there's some things that we could do until then. There's some hunts that we could do until then, and that will help us in that area. And so we're going to launch this off until spring bear season. This is what we're doing. We are going to do the spring awakening, and that's what we're going to be talking about until that happens. So once we get back from the break, I'm going to introduce the system, and then I'll tell you how to get started in it. As we were talking about, we are starting Spring Awakening. And basically what it's looking like is we're getting off the couch. We're going to start becoming more disciplined in our spiritual life. We're going to become more disciplined in our physical life. And we're going to become more disciplined in our tactical life. And what I mean by tactical life is looking at how we're going to become successful. I think as humans, we were given dominion, right? We were told to be like Christ. So tactically, what that means is that we are to study the way that he made things, and then we are to adjust to be able to feed our families by the way that he made things. And that's a tactic, right? And then making yourself do that. So we this is the Spring Awakening that's come up, and is something that is completely this is just not a workout program. It's just not a thinking program. This is actually just what we like to call holistic life. This is how we try to live among, we go to work and we do all these things to create money and to bring this in, but honestly, a lot of us live for something different than that. That creates something for us to be able to do something else. Some people, their work is their life, and God has, gifted them that work for that is their ministry. Some people don't, and I'm one of those that part of my work is it's all surely God's ministry, right? But also where we move past some of this stuff is in what we're working for, and that's building the kingdom. And building the kingdom through the outdoors is what's really been placed on my heart. So we created I hate calling them programs, but that's really what this is. This is like a month long. How are we going to get off the couch? And we have, and then we're going to film all this. We will take and bring you along. We'll do it on YouTube. We'll bring you along. We'll probably incorporate some squirrel hunts. There's squirrel hunting is open year round right next to where I live, and show you how we will go up there, and we're going to incorporate these hunts within this framework that we've created. Why would we do this? Well, because honestly, we are supposed to um, mirror God. We're supposed to be his image. And the minute that you come to Christ, you receive Christ's spirit inside of you. And then he motivates you and moves you to be more and more like him. And that means that we share that with the rest of the world. So if you're created as an outdoorsman, Christ is putting his spirit into the outdoorsman in you. And that is what you do to share with other people who Christ is. And you do that through following what he has done and who he is, and producing the ideas of Christ. It's nothing of yourself. This is the coolest thing about this, is it doesn't rely on you. Because if it relied on you, or in my case, if it relied on me, I'd find a way to screw this up. So let's go through this. This is going to be a month long, and then we'll do something in March as well to continue on with this. Probably something a little bit bigger about this, right? And so for this period, um, if you what we're going to do is if you do all the steps in this Spring Awakening, in this uh this timeline, or this thing that we're doing, this ruck march that we're starting, or whatever, if you do everything, and I'm going to put a PDF tracking sheet up on the website where you can go over and track and it's going to be an honor system, and you do everything that's on here, and part of it we will see some of it, because some of it requires you to post what you're doing on your social media, and then of course hashtagging the life outdoors so we can see what you're doing. And also I think that's going to help other people see what you're doing, and maybe hopefully motivate them to do the same thing, to be a part of what's going on here. So um this is going to be how we start this, is and it's going to sound easy at first, but we're just trying to build discipline and trying to build objectivity in your life to where you're living, you're not catching yourself just scrolling on your phone. You're actually living with objective missions and trying to order your life to where you could try to meet these goals. And they're little itty bitty goals. But like the Lord says, if you're good at the small stuff, the big stuff will become bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're going to do more and more and more for the kingdom. So the first week, this is how it's going to break down. So we're going to break this down during weeks to keep you focused. And the first week will be February 1st to the 7th. And you're going to walk 1 mile every day. And you don't have to add weight here if you don't want to, but you need to walk 1 mile every day this week. And you can take your watch. So, if you track your steps and figure out what 1 mile is in steps. And I know that's sounds super easy, but it's going to take you to force yourself to walk that 1 mile. And this is unweighted, or if you're already started to do weights, you can put weight on. I'm going to start with weight. And then, so that's the physical part. The spiritual is read 1 chapter of Proverbs daily. There's 31 chapters in Proverbs. So you start with chapter 1 and work your way through. And we're going to, Proverbs is a book that tunes you up, right? It shows you how to live more and more like in the image of God. And that's what Proverbs is for. So we should be reading through it and applying those things to our lives. And then tactical. So it's broke down in 4 different things, right? So it's broke down in physical, spiritual, tactical, and community. And so each week is going to have those 4 things in it. Okay, so tactical, locate your spring gear, get the bins, and assess what you need and what you need to replace, what you need to clean up, what you need to figure out, and maybe what you need for new gear. And I'll be making videos to show you how I kind of go through this. But I want to see your guys' videos. So that's where the next thing comes in. It's community. And this is the foundation. This is where you can start today. You post from day 1 and you post your starting line, and you can talk about any one of these things in your post. I would love to see people talking on their even live videos or reels on Instagram, or even stories, or on Facebook, and talk about where you're starting here. Have you read Proverbs at all? Have you ever read it? These are the cool things that this might do. This is going to shake things up in you, and it's going to put you in a course, and it's something that you can follow. So that's going to be the first thing. Okay, week 2. So week 2, for the focus on week 1 was habits in your heart, trying to change those things, right? Trying to get you on board with this. Week 2 is actually strength and stewardship. So physical, add 15 to 20 pounds to your walk, and then add a half a mile to your walk, and try to do it 3 times a week. So you're looking at getting 9 miles in that week. And then you add, some weight to so you're going to hit those glutes. You're going to make your legs mountain ready, and you're going to wake that wild within. Spiritual, identify one spiritual weed, one bad habit that grew over the winter. And I'm telling you, man, there's probably a bunch more than one. But start committing to pulling that weed. And then you guys can talk about this on your social medias, or you can just leave it alone. But at the same time, it's the best thing to do is to start. That's called it's looking at yourself, being inflective towards what you're looking at, and try to pull those weeds out. And then gear maintenance, deep clean your boots, get your rain gear ready, get new arrows fletched, and just really get after it. If you're going to be muzzleloader hunting, make sure that sucker's ready to go. That's what you're going to see with us. I'm really would like to shoot a bear with my muzzleloader, because I want to be like Daniel Boone, and he killed him a bear when he was only 3, but I'm 55 now. I want to do it with my muzzleloader. And then take this community post and show people what you're doing and what's holding you back. Talk about what's holding you back, what you're doing. And here's the deal: is this is called We live in a day of digital age, right? It can be good and it can be bad. But the good is that you can show your testimony to, even if it's 3 or 4 people, you're still sharing a testimony of what's going on and the things that are holding you back and what's motivating you to go forward. You're gonna affect people. Everybody also always comes up to me and says, I don't know what my mission in life is. I don't know what my purpose in the kingdom is, what God wants me to do. Well, you do the thing that's at hand. You do the first thing that's at hand, and you just talk about what the Lord is bringing you through, and that's going to help somebody else. Okay, week 3, physical. Increase your pack weight. Train with some elevation if you can. Focus on the archer's lung. So focus on trying to breathe a certain way while you're under stress to slow down. So you want to slow down your heart rate so when you're in the heat of the moment, you can keep control of how much shakes you get or how much adrenaline is blowing it through your mind. This is huge. If you do it now, it's kind of like in the military. They taught us all sorts of things that they knew we were going to be a part of in the military. They would put us in those situations so when we were in the real situation, we could control our emotions and we could control ourselves. And I just don't think there's enough of that in the world today. But you can practice that. And then, of course, spiritual. Get out there before the sun comes up sometime and just 10 minutes of nothing but wild silence and watch the sun come up and pray to the Lord. Use the Psalms. And then, of course, you're reading, you're still reading your chapter a day, right? You're still doing your chapter a day. So that's going to lead you into prayer, or not your Psalms, Proverbs. That's going to lead you into prayer every time. Take 15 minutes and do some calling. Do some calling out. So this is the tactical part. Go out and start calling out in the brush. Don't do it where your turkeys are because you don't want to get them understanding it, or get them used to calls. But work on your calling and understand how the noise travels depending on where you're at and how the topography works. And then make these community posts, you guys. I'm telling you, again, this is one of the biggest things that you could do to advance the kingdom is to be able to talk to people. And then these will bring conversations up. When you do this, people are going to see you, and then you'll do face-to-face conversations because they're going to see what's going on Instagram or Facebook or the other ones. Week 4, this is get your everything that you're going to hunt with, put it all together, and you're going to go 3+ miles. Maybe we will set up a hike where we can all meet up here. The people in Southern Oregon. And if you want to fly in, you're more than welcome to. If you want to come down, and we will go and we will do a hike. I have a mountain that you hike up that thing. It's about 3 miles, and you have to hike up it, and you're going to gain probably 2,000 foot of elevation. And when you get up there, you can see all over the Southern Cascades. And I think that would be probably where I'm going to do this. And you guys would be more than welcome to join me. And this is towards the end. This is towards the end of February. So it's a perfect time to get everybody out. Spiritual. Start stewardshiping others. Reach out to younger hunters and start pulling them in and then teach them how God is teaching you through the outdoors. And then finally, do a final inventory of your stuff. If you don't need it, get rid of it. If you need more, go get some. And then start tagging. And then for the community posts, start tagging your hunting partners, keeping them accountable. Those community posts are also accountability posts. And we got a lot of guys around here that are on social media. And if we're keeping each other accountable, that's going to be something amazing. So that is what we're doing. We're going to start this come today. And this is the spring awakening. And this is something that is just so holistic in the way that life is for me and for my family and for my kids, that this is how we follow Christ. We believe that Christ is in every aspect of our lives. And so when you start living this way, his kingdom started inside of you the minute his spirit came inside of you. And so living out that spirit in everyday life that's how we are as Christians. It's not a religion, it's a life. And so that's why we call it the life outdoors. And that's what we're trying to promote. So you guys, there will be some, so at the end of this, if you do everything, we're going to give away some hats and t-shirts. We'll make a special t-shirt for those that complete this. And it'll be the 2026 Spring Awakening t-shirt, and it'll be a special one. So if you wear this t-shirt and you're around people that know what's going on in life outdoors, they're going to know that you have become a part of the Spring Awakening. So with that said, I hope you guys, I hope this is something that motivates you to get out. And I hope it's something that you guys will really like. I know it's going to motivate me, and it's going to make us better humans, better hunters. But more importantly, it's going to make us better Christ followers. So with that said, you guys, let's get out there. Let's wake that wild within, and let's move into this next season motivated and spiritual filled. Until next week, you guys, get out there, wake that wild within, and learn a little bit more about yourself.